Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of My 15 Minutes, the show I put on every night for 15 minutes where I talk about anything in particular and that anybody wants to hear, probably. But it's called My 15 Minutes. It's on the Old Folks Boogie 2 channel, which is also mine. Not that that matters, but anyway, so this is episode 57, right? Yeah, this is episode 57, and I started this January 1st of this year, 2020. Um, every night for 15 minutes a night, I talk about whatever I feel like talking about. And if anybody wants to listen, they're certainly welcome to do so. Anyway, last night I was talking about my early days and like the first couple accidents I got in when I was a legal driver. But what I didn't talk about is the year leading up to and me getting my driver's license. I was not a very good 15-year-old son. I mean, I guess I was okay, but I was very rebellious and very, I just did things. I took my dad's cars a lot. I got caught a number of times. I'm not sure what led up to the final thing, but I had taken one night in particular. I had first taken the VW. Actually, yeah, that's right. A friend of mine and I snuck out. We got the VW out of the garage, and we snuck out, and we took it into St. Matthews from Middletown, where we lived. And we took it into St. Matthews, but as and oh no, I know what it was. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I did have a permit at that time, but I still snuck out. I wasn't supposed to be out in it. And the guy that was, Buddy was with me. He's passed now, but yeah, Buddy was with me. That's right. And think about this, it's 1966. I'm not even sure how. Oh no, yeah, this is early 66 at some point. I turned 16 in 65, and I got my permit. So that, no, and there were some, boy, the timeline's getting screwed, because before that in 65, that's when before I even had a permit, I had a number of fun times with the car. Going out. One time we got home from school, and I don't know where my mother was. Maybe, I don't know. But anyway, I took the station wagon out of the car, out of the garage, right in the middle of the day. I was 15 years old. Just took it out and went on back into school. I went back over to the high school in Kentucky. I don't know why. I can't for the life of me figure out why I drove that car back there. But anyway, almost got into a major accident right in front of the school because of not paying attention. But luckily for somehow, I don't even know how I avoided it, but somehow what happened was I was coming down the old US 60 in front of the high school. And there, by this point, there was two or three, I think three other people in the car with me, friends that I had picked up from someplace, I don't know where. We were joyriding, and we're heading back toward the school from up old US 60 in Middletown. And I don't know how we're laughing, carrying on. The next thing I look up ahead of me, and traffic is stopped dead at where the intersection of the school is, and then there was a shopping center across the street and Old 60 there. There was a crossroads. and traffic was stopped dead, and I was doing like 50, 45, 50 miles an hour on this little 2-lane road. The only thing that I could do was I swerved left and then went around at least 4 cars and through the intersection where this and blowing my horn the whole time, and then just rode off. Nobody ever caught me, but I mean, we luckily, I mean, we were lucky because that could have been one of those disasters. I mean, real disasters. I can't believe I made it through it. I can't believe I reacted quick enough sometimes. I still think about it to this day. But I cannot believe I reacted quickly enough at 15 years old to avoid a major collision. You know, it's really funny because, actually, it's not really funny. But when I was young, at 13, 14 years old, before I ever drove a car anywhere, I used to sit in the driveway and shift gears, you know, shift, move my foot in and out on the clutch and the gas, see if I could figure out the coordination that it took to drive a stick shift. Because that's what we had. Other than the station wagon, we had stick shift cars. My dad's Morris Minor that he had, and then the VW that his next car was. That those were both stick shift. So you either drove a stick shift or you didn't drive. I mean, yeah, you could drive it on, right? But that wasn't the car that was for the kids. It was the. But nonetheless, so the very first time that I backed that VW out down the driveway and out into the road at night, and pushed it until it was far enough away from the house to start up and get in it. That the first time I did that, I drove. It was like it's like I had never not driven a stick. It was like a natural fit. I mean, as soon as I put it in gear and let out the clutch, I knew it. I could feel it. It was, and I went through because I had practiced many times. I knew exactly where each gear was. I mean, I drive shifted that sucker till the transmission probably hummed to itself. Oh God, yeah. But anyway, so the first time I got in that car, put it in gear, drove straight out. I had no issues whatsoever, and that car left the garage at night a lot. My mother didn't know about it. All of it anyway. They did toward the end when things got, when I got into serious trouble and I got arrested. I had to go to court. And that's when the judge actually sentenced me. Now, this is before I got my permit, but because Dad at this point was probably not going to let me get a driver's license. But I had to go to court. And the judge took the unique moment to try and teach me a lesson. And what he said to me was, he sentenced me. Now, this is he sentenced me to get a 100% on the written and a 100% on the driving test, or flunking either one of those, I'd have to wait till I was 18 to get my driver's license. So that was the choice to, buckle down and study like crazy, know every answer there is to know. So when I stood in front of the examiner, because in those days there was I don't remember anything other than somebody asking questions. There was no machine to ask you questions. There may have been, I don't know, I can't remember. In Pennsylvania, it was a little bit different because when you get your license up here in those days, they had a machine you looked in and you had to mark on a piece of paper and hand that in. But I don't remember Kentucky. But anyway, I was sentenced to get 100. The judge, I didn't think he thought I could do it. I was pretty sure he didn't. He thought I'd be getting my license when I was 18 years old. But I fooled him. I actually did. I managed to get 100% on the written and 100% on the driving test. And I did them, not that far apart. Because I don't think there was any time limit in Kentucky at that time. I don't think you had to wait from the time you got your permit to the time you take your driver's license test, unless you wanted to. If you wanted to take them on the same day, you could probably do that. I didn't do that because I know for a fact that I got in real trouble later driving with my permit. because we got stopped that night. I told you that my buddy and he and I were in St. Matthews, and we got pulled over just before the expressway there in Waters. The expressway in Louisville, Kentucky. This is where, and we talked ourselves out of a ticket by telling the cop, and I showed him my permit, and then I said, "Well, Buddy, he has a driver's license," and then Buddy said, "Well, no, I don't." And then but we had concocted the story that we had just met at a party, and I was giving him a ride or whatever, but he had the driver's license. So anyway, what the cop did was he made us leave the Volkswagen sitting on the side of the road, like 12 o'clock at night, maybe 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. Pretty quiet in Kentucky in those days. It was, you didn't. Anyway, he left, and then he took us over to a gas station and told us to call, somebody to come and get us in the car, somebody with a driver's license, because we couldn't drive it, because even though I had a permit, Buddy did not have a driver's license, or a permit for that matter, or maybe he did have a permit. I can't remember now whether he actually had his permit or not, but he didn't have a license, and so we couldn't do that. But anyway, we got to the gas station where the cop was dropping us off, and I reached into my pocket and I said, "Oh, wait a minute, do you have a nickel?" The gas station was closed, and our buddy reached in his pocket. He said, "Oh no, I've got a dollar bill," or whatever. Neither one of us had a nickel, and that's what a phone call cost. And so the cop had to reach in his own pocket and give us a nickel. So and we did not call home. As soon as the cop had disappeared, and he actually went on into St. Matthews, and then we didn't see the car. Anyway, as soon as he was pretty sure, we ran and got to the car, got in it, made a U-turn, headed back to the subdivision where we lived, went back into the subdivision, went back to the house, snuck the VW into the garage, back to the station wagon, out of the garage, and we were headed out of the subdivision when the same cop was pulling in. It was a divided entry, so you had an entry and an exit side. We were on the exit side, heading out again, and he was pulling into the other door, and his lights caught us flat on. He absolutely recognized us, and he flipped his lights, and we made a U-turn around the barrier, went back into the thing. I went down two cross streets in the development, and moved the car into there. And then on the side of the road, we dumped it and ran for each other's homes. And I made it home. The cop did not get me there. And I made it home, and I got into the house. And I left the car on the side. I can't believe I did that, huh? I mean, it was so stupid. But anyway, I don't know what time it was. Probably by the time all this was 12:30, maybe 1 o'clock. And I got in the house. I was real quiet. I went and crawled in my bed. And about half an hour later, I heard the doorbell, ding dong, and nobody got up. And I didn't get up. My father and mother did not wake up. I laid there for the longest time. I couldn't believe that cop rang the doorbell. But then he left. And but there was he was there in the morning, or another cop. Some cop was there in the morning to talk to my dad about the car that was now. Now they didn't tow it, I don't think. I think he was kind enough that he knew that it was. So I think he left it. We went up, or my dad or my mother. Somebody went up and drove it back to the house. There wasn't any damage to it or anything. I just left it on the side of the road there. I didn't park on anybody's lawn or anything, because there's no sidewalks in that development. But the doorbell rang, and nobody ever came. But in the morning, the doorbell rang, and my father went downstairs, and then I heard. I was asleep by this point, but I did hear the doorbell ring, and I didn't know. I heard some voices, and then I heard, "John!" My father was a little livid. he was a little angry. So Anyway, that's that part of that story. For that, you can see I was not, um, I, I was not the most pleasant person to raise. Uh, was not the most pleasant experience for my father, I'm sure. Although he got over it, he forgot, gave me a lot in the years after that. He did forgive me a lot. There's some other stories. Anyway, it is time. It is now way past time. So see you tomorrow night. Another 15 minutes. Another day on the road. This is 57. Tomorrow will be 58 toward 366. Good night. Subscribe if you want to. Thank you.